Nobody wants to be a software engineer, software developer, all that stuff. Yeah, that's a pretty common sentiment. Not to say that everyone that's made the transition to tech has decided to avoid becoming a software engineer and things like that. That's actually been a fairly hot topic in itself. People who like, I didn't go to college, I didn't get certifications, but I still managed to become a six-figure earning software engineer at a big four consulting firm or a big tech firm, manga, company, one of the manga companies, stuff like that. That's been a pretty, there's been a pretty big boost in that sector of social media and stuff as well with the tech trend. But I think overall, there's still the louder voice of I make six figs in tech, working on technology-based stuff, and I don't code, right? So why does nobody want to be a software engineer? Also known as a computer programmer, software developer, or just a coder. Either way, software engineers, I'm just going to use the term coders, actually, just easier. Coders, they are probably the number one reason, primarily when it comes to TV and just media and stuff in the past in our childhood, why a lot of us instantly signed ourselves off on possibly getting into the tech world, not realizing there were non-programming sides, because more times than not with like TV shows, like one of my favorite TV shows is Criminal Minds. And if you know Penelope Garcia, the character in that show, yeah, she can code like a mug, but even Mr. Robot, a bunch of other movies where like it's some hacking and stuff going on, heist movies maybe. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but you know what I'm saying? Like you just saw a bunch of that media growing up, and it's like these techie people, these nerds, like they all do the same thing. That was just kind of what people started thinking. And here we are finding out, no, you can be a tech nerd and know the concepts and you apply them and do technical stuff here and there, but not everyone's looking at a terminal using Linux to navigate file directories and create new directories and things like that, or using Bash to do the same thing, but also using it for task automation. Python can be used for task automation as well to make your life a little bit easier. Not everyone's not doing that. There are a lot of people who just use basic networking concepts, IP addresses, and stuff like that. Or even if they are on the so to say technical side of things, they're not programming, but they may have to do what I've done in the past, which was take external data loads or data files and load them into a centralized data repository for other people to use, for end users to use. And we had to create user accounts. We had to, create roles for permissions and make sure that people had the correct permissions and a bunch of other things, and back up the database. I already said what databases, I kind of touched on that and my big screw up with that. If you haven't seen that story, go ahead and find this video up here. Yeah, I messed up pretty bad with that one. But yeah, you can do technical stuff, but just because I'm technical doesn't mean you're a programmer. So let's go ahead and talk about why this seems to be like the plague and a big thing to everybody. So first off, software engineering, programming, or coding, whatever you want to call it, falls more under the computer science umbrella than it does the IT umbrella. Those are two different things technically, or at least there's some overlap. But I would say, like, say if you're going to college and you wanted to be an IT major of some kind, you're probably not going to touch on programming that much. But if you're touching on computer science, you're going to be doing nothing but programming. It may not be exclusive to computer science, but programming is not quite as prominent in the IT realm as it is in more computer science based roles. But they both tend to fall under the overall, I guess, tech umbrella. So still a relationship there, still some overlap there. The main detail with computer science being that computer science revolves around the development, testing, and integration of software applications. So you're literally building applications or computer programs from scratch in an IDE or integrated developers environment. In comparison, IT pertains more to using these software applications to solve business problems and also maintaining them at the same time, but not necessarily in the creation of them or implementing them into, say, a business environment for customers that want to use the application that you built with your hands coding it. That may also fall more under the computer science umbrella than it does the IT umbrella. Developers/engineers are the people that build programs from scratch, which then allows them to sell or lease those applications or those programs to customers for use, therefore for profit. But now back on track. Now we're going to hit the core of the video. Why does nobody want to be a software engineer? Now, again, I learned Python on my own free time. I actually tried it a few years ago. Then life happened and I dropped it, but I picked it back up earlier this year and I found out I actually really like it. but I don't want to be a developer. Coding is not something I see myself doing 8 to 10 hours a day. And clearly that sentiment is shared with, I think, most people making this tech transition. So why is this the case? One, and I already pretty much talked about this. In my opinion, your visualization skills need to be better than most people's because you are literally building something from scratch. You can be an architect, or rather an engineer in the literal sense of, say, building a house. Because even an architect in the traditional sense of building a house, architects design the house. I personally don't know architects that actually go out and build the houses that they design, but they set those blueprints with their software and everything. So that's where their job comes in. But when it comes to like construction engineers, they're the ones that are out there actually wearing like hard helmets on a regular everyday basis, building the house, setting the foundation, setting the weight bearing pillars, and all those things. They actually put their hands on the object. Architects, from my understanding, don't necessarily do that. And in order for you to even get ready to put your hands on something, you need to already have something in mind first. It may not be the finished product that's in mind, but it still is going to serve as your guide. So you need to be able to, like, whether it's a house, whether it's content you're trying to put out, whether it's a business plan, a vision for the future. That's why it's a vision, a visionary. You see something before anyone else sees it. And you also have the charismatic ability to draw people in to get their buy-in into that plan or to that vision. But it needs to be a company with a plan, but that's a whole different topic. But that's where that comes from. So your visionary ability needs to usually be higher than most, because you say you want to build a mobile app to do something, but you don't even know where to start and start typing stuff out, and it's just gobbledygook. I don't know, maybe that's someone's process, but like I said, for a friend of mine and another friend of mine and other people I've come across, they usually have to discuss these type of things when they have these projects or when they're doing their personal projects. They usually have to think about how they will set this up, what libraries they need to use and all that stuff before they even start typing actual keys. Two, and just this is pretty much like with everything else, but with programming, it has a different type of frustration to it. But with that said, it has its own type of high. And it comes from this. You need to be prepared to reevaluate and adjust your code so many times. So many times. It's not even funny. Like, you think you built the perfect application, perfect program, whether it's something that you're just going to use to automate stuff, it's a relatively short script or program, or you're trying to build like a whole application. Either way, you're thinking like, this is perfect. I've cleared up all the exceptions or the error messages that pop up and what causes them and all that stuff. And then you try to test it and you get a bug and you're like, where is this coming from? I used the right, I'm saying? This is indented properly, and I use is it semicolon or colons here, and that's right, and it's capitalized, and this reference, like this variable is here and it's referencing this here, and like, what's not working? Like, this is so weird. And this can slow you down hours to days on days. And by the time you eventually figure it out, you're gonna say, really, it was because of just I hit the space bar accidentally here, and the space is there, so it throws the whole program up. Like, really, it can really be something that small. It's so irritating. But when you finally figure it out, oh my goodness, it gets so addicting. I've learned SQL, which you don't really have to do that. Python, I got through that. By the time I decided that I reached a level with Python that I was satisfied with, because again, I don't want to be an engineer of any kind. I don't want to code 8+ hours a day. I don't want to do that. But I got so addicted to it that I was like, okay, I got database, a little bit hands-on database knowledge, back-end, not what Python can use for front-end or back-end, I believe, but I was learning more for like back-end reasons. So now like front-end in terms of like maybe web page design or something like that, I was like, okay, I might as well learn HTML and CSS and just casually become a full stack engineer, and we'll see if I take it further than that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I need to stop, because as much as this stuff can irritate me from time to time, it can be so much fun. It can be so much fun. Little just random games, little games or programs you can build, to bigger stuff, it can be so much fun. It can be addicting. It can be irritating. But when you finally clear that exception or those errors that keep popping up, it's hard to leave. It can be very hard to leave. I won't hold you. Another reason, well, this might be more niched, but maybe not, because I'm seeing this more common with certain job descriptions. Data analysis and even business analysts, which the more time goes on, I'm starting to see less and less of a barrier between business analysts and data analysts. But again, that depends on your company and what they need and all that stuff. But bottom line, when it comes to, again, taking in data, transforming it into information, and visualizing it using pandas, matplotlib, and a bunch of other things, at some point, a decent amount of math becomes involved. Not a whole lot from what I've seen, but I would say data analysis, you're gonna have to be familiar with math and how to come up with equations and stuff on the fly so that your data can be properly presented, so that you can create like PDFs of reports and things that's customized, is flexible and everything, and you can send that out to your stakeholders or to your management, things like that, that will send it up from there. From what I've seen, the bit of stuff I've seen on social media when I was, hands-on with Python and things like that, it wasn't terrible. But when you say, if you're trying to get into the data scientist side of things, oh yeah, you're gonna need to, your math is gonna go up a lot. You're like Python, R, SQL might still be in there. I think I've seen, well, no, I haven't seen Swift. I haven't seen Swift in like job descriptions, and I don't know anyone that uses Swift. It's mainly used by Apple, but I don't know. But yeah, no, I've seen a lot of job descriptions. I would say those are the top 3 for data and business analysts these days. Python, R, and SQL. Ruby is another one that I've seen. I want to say Go might pop up here and there, but yeah, you guys get the point. The higher up you go with it, if you choose to stay in that lane and continue to move up, eventually mathematics is supposed to become a pretty decent element of your work. I don't mind it a little here and there, but no. There's a few examples of some of the specialties that you can go into that may be more math intensive and therefore what a lot of people necessarily don't want to get hands on with. I already kind of touched on it with Matplotlib and stuff, but you have data analysis and visualization. You also have artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Oh, and arguably the biggest monster, finance. I didn't even like fintech. Fintech is big right now. I don't know. I'm not saying everyone needs to know how to program if you're doing that, but fintech is pretty big. It's supposed to be pretty lucrative, but that's why you're going to be dealing with that. That's nothing but numbers. If you want to deal with numbers, I don't know why you're dealing with finance. I don't know. So yeah, those are some of the reasons why people don't want to be software engineers and why that's such a big argument or just a big sales point for people with their experience of I got 6 figs and you can do it too and you don't have to code and this and that. You don't have to deal with numbers like that. You can work from home, of course, and all that stuff, but mainly the whole thing of I don't have to code and all that stuff. That's why some people, and if not a lot of people, I think most people that are trying to make the transition and have made a transition, I think that's why that's something they cling on to. Not everyone wants to deal with data analysis and visualization. It's there at an IDE for 8 hours plus a day and all this stuff. It's not for everybody. It's fun in bursts, but I don't want to do that all the time. All right, guys, I'm going to leave the video here at that. If you guys got any comments or feedbacks, go ahead and drop in the comment section below. I appreciate you for being here with me and hope this video was helpful to you. All right, see you next time. Later.